Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Thursday, December 27th, 2018. Maybe the slowest day in news history in the time I've been doing this work. CNN's front page is so slow, they have up a top story that they had 3 days ago. Anyway, since it's such a slow news day, I thought I'd talk about what is relevant today, which isn't a lot, and then review why we're looking at the date August 11th, 2019. Covered a lot of information over the last few months. Thought we could compile it all in one video and make sure what we're looking at for that date makes sense. Let's start with this day in history. Things that have happened in December 27th in the past. On December 27, 1979, there was a political assassination. Soviet forces seized control of Afghanistan. President Amin, who was overthrown and executed, was replaced by Babrak Karmal. And what I thought was so interesting about this was another story having to do with death and killing. And the man who was executed, the date of his death, date with numerology of 118 and 38. And so many times in history, we've seen where dates align this way, there's a major death. In the United States, Tupac Shakur, for example, died on a date with 38 and 118 numerology. And death has Gematria of 38 and 118. Using the alphabetic order, death's 38. Using the Jewish cipher, death's 118. It was also a date with 137 numerology, the big government authority number, and they had a change in leadership for the government in Afghanistan, nation that's always been ruled over by larger powers, such as the Soviet Union, the United States. Of course, the whole history of Osama bin Laden goes back to the United States and the Soviet Union. They say the United States funded what became Al-Qaeda because they were funding these guerrilla forces to fight the Soviet Union, to fight the communists. Also on this day in history, in 1945, the IMF was established, or the International Monetary Fund, and what a perfect day to establish an organization to oversee the money of the world. December 27, 1945 was a date with 103 numerology. 103 is the 27th prime number. In Gematria, the word money equals 27. So you're on the 27th of the month, plus it's a date with 103 numerology, the 27th prime. And for anyone who would scoff at this, please look into the speech given by Christine Lagarde January 2014, where she gave a numerology lesson in her own words on the magic number 7, her own words. And she pointed to several sevens throughout history. A major clue, a major insight into how World Elite worked by this code. In 2017, when Steve Mnuchin was made the 77th head of the federal, or the Secretary of the Treasury, Christine Lagarde came out and said it's no coincidence that Mr. Mnuchin, the 77th to be in this position, was installed on a date with 7 numerology, which was February 13th, 2017. And remember, numbers are very important to one spiritual group in this world. And that is the people who are into Jewish mysticism, such as Kabbalah. And don't forget that Mr. Mnuchin is Jewish. Him being the 77th is very interesting because if you write out the word Judaism with the alphabetic order, it sums to 77. Years ago, I put up a book in the background sent to me by somebody who found my work about the wisdom of numbers in Jewish mysticism. that caused a lot of people to say, oh, Zach's a shill. Look at that book in his background. It's like, do you guys not see what I'm talking about in all my videos? How World Elite operate by numbers, do everything by a code, how this is important to a certain group of people who have a monopoly in media and government and banking. Anyway, if you've never seen Christine Lagarde's speech from January 2014, you should definitely check that out. That started just 2 months after I began my blog and research, and that was a sure sign to me that I was right on the money with what I was doing. Christine Lagarde coming out and speaking about how important numerology is to World Elite. By the way, December 27th, 1945, it was also a date with 58 numerology, the big Freemasonry number, like how there's Masonic symbolism all over the U.S. currency, which all currencies are pegged against. And I'm sure there's Masonic symbolism all over currencies of the world in light of Freemasonry being all across the world and Freemasonry making up what is the New World Order. It was also a date with 84 numerology as well. Masonry has that Gematria of 84 too. So what a date for the IMF to be established. By the way, International Monetary Fund, Gematria of 119, like All-Seeing Eye, like Star of David. You know, here in the U.S., we have the All-Seeing Eye on our dollar bills. We have the Star of David on our dollar bills. Orthodox 119, Ashkenazi Jews equals 119. IMF right after World War II, the Ashkenazi agenda. Another headline today is there was the killing of a 33-year-old police officer, Ranil Singh. Go figure, he was 33 years old. As we know, in the most pure cipher, police, masonry, secrecy order, they all sum to 33. And they blamed it on an illegal immigrant. Don't forget, in that most pure cipher, Mexico and Mexican equals 33. The Mexican-American War, the treaty to end it, was signed on the 33rd day of the year once upon a time, February 2nd. The name of the officer, when you flip the alphabetic order around, who was killed at 33, his surname Singh has the Gematria of 33 as well. And it just makes you wonder, what's really going on? Are some officers getting sacrificed for national propaganda news stories? I wouldn't put it past the police. An organization full of corrupt individuals, love to pull the trigger, love power more than justice, overwhelmingly. Here's CNN's front page all this morning. The roller coaster continuing to go on with the Dow. Supposedly social media leaked that Trump was traveling to Iraq. Like it wouldn't be a blessing for the world if something happened to his plane. But their other top story was something that was up days ago. I was like, why are they bringing this back? This is just how slow the news cycle is today. But Caskell says GOP senators believe Trump is nuts. They had this up Christmas Eve. You click on the story, it's still linked to last updated Christmas Eve. But I did skip this story Christmas Eve. Look at the two words emphasized. Cheap and nuts. Cheap and nuts. Cheap with the alphabetic order, 33, nuts, 74. Just like Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables. Jesus on the cross at age 33. The date of this news story, a date was 74 numerology, again on Christmas Eve. They just love to put these numbers together. And I've talked about this since the very first video I ever uploaded. The very first video I uploaded, I said, watch for the numbers 33, 47, 74, also 26. And of course, if you've read my book, it begins with why there's 26 letters in the English alphabet. In the next chapter, you learn a whole lot more about 33, 47, 74. But just understand, every single day, what's coded in the headlines, it's for a reason. The emphasized phrases, they're for a reason. Also, something interesting pointed out to me. We've been talking about Donald Trump announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, November 9th, 2016. Since the day it happened, I don't think I'd ever noticed before that the total length of the continental border between the United States and Mexico is 1,989 miles, like how the Berlin Wall fell in 1989. Is this a coincidence? Or is this, just how deep the scripting is? The other thing I really want to know is the continental border 1,989 miles? This is what Wikipedia is reporting. I did check it out. A few other sources have this distance as well. Perhaps it really is that long. But I said, I don't think that's a coincidence. Donald Trump wants to build a wall across the border, announces the president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. How strange. If you missed last night's radio show on TFR, my imam called in and she saw what I covered maybe a couple weeks ago now. You probably remember the story about the teacher who was cutting the hair of students because they did not know the words to the national anthem. You might recall this story. We covered it a couple weeks ago. Bizarre story. And I said, there must be something about hair that I'm not getting. Because, why would the punishment be to cut hair? And Imam called in last night, and she said, I think it was a tribute to the musical Hair, which was about, the so-called hippies, the war protesters, the flag protesters, and all of their critics, who said they're a bunch of no-good hoodlums that need to cut their hair. And, writing the description for Hair the Musical, it brings up its irreverence for the American flag. And again, just the other week, a teacher cutting the hair of students reportedly because they didn't know the words to the national anthem. So I think Imam nailed it. I think this is no doubt what the story was really all about. So great work. Appreciate the observation. And also last night, Zenith of the Alpha phoned in, and he had a good observation about Kevin Spacey, the release of his Let Me Be Frank video on Christmas Eve. Again, his first accuser to come out, just talked about him yesterday. That man is known for performing in the musical Rent. The first person to come out and accuse Kevin Spacey. And lo and behold, Rent Act 1 begins on Christmas Eve. And it also concludes on Christmas Eve. I don't know if Kevin Spacey has any history with Rent. Perhaps he does. But no doubt, again, this has to be part of the ritual. His accuser, his first accuser from Rent set on Christmas Eve. Doesn't that just make too much sense? Plus this year, as we talked about yesterday, Christmas Eve had the date numerology to sync with the character Frank Underwood, who we played in House of Cards. And if you missed yesterday's work on the Let Me Be Frank video, check it out. But this is a big connection. There's probably a whole lot more to it. And I suspect Zenith of the Alpha will eventually go to town on this. So keep your eyes on Zenith of the Alpha. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, you should definitely do so. Now, with that said, today's headlines aside, let's go back and discuss how this whole thing with August 11th, 2019 began. In the days before September 11th, a news story broke. Prophecy fulfilled after Red Cow was born at Temple of Israel. And it was initially reported that the cow was born September 4th. And September 4th is the day leaving 118 days left in the year. And as you read this story, it talks about Revelation and the third temple and coming chaos, the biblical prophecy of Revelation, all that will come that will lead up to the third temple. And as I read it, I said, I wonder what day Tisha B'Av falls on in 2019. So I looked it up and I saw it fell on August 10th and 11th. Tisha B'Av, like most Jewish holy days, they begin at sundown and they go for a 24-hour period. So August 10th through August 11th. And I said, look at that. Tisha B'Av falls on August 11th, and this cow was born on September 4th, the day leaving 118 days left in the year. I said, is that a coincidence? Let me do some more research. And I started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and then other people started sending all these observations, and pretty soon we had built an overwhelming amount of evidence that was all pointing to August 11th, 2019, the day of Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples, which is connected to the prophecy of the third temple, just like this perfect, unblemished red heifer's birth is connected to that prophecy. Okay, so let's go over this. Notice red heifer in Jewish Gematria sums to 202. A number of things coded into these headlines up here, including the end is near, born in Israel in 2,000 years, fulfills prophecy. All of these things sum to 202. And it jumped out at me right away, the coding of 202, because my birthday happens to be on the 202nd day of the year, which is July 21st. And I knew that this year, 2018, Tisha B'Av fell on July 21st. So I started to say, okay, so this story is pointing, what's coded in the headlines is pointing to Tisha B'Av, and next year Tisha B'Av falls on a really interesting day. So let's just go through this. Tisha B'Av in 2018 was July 21st and July 22nd, and recall before Tisha B'Av came around, I said, circle those dates. Every year we see tragedies on Tisha B'Av. I said, we'll probably see some mass shootings in the world. Who knows what else? And both dates, we got mass shootings in the news. We got a mass shooting in Los Angeles and a hostage situation at a grocery store on July 21st. And then July 22nd, we got a mass shooting in Toronto. There's videos still up on both of those incidents. Also, what's interesting about Tisha B'Av is in the English extended cipher, it sums to 721. And again, this year, Tisha B'Av began on 7/21, July 21st. Every 19 years, Tisha B'Av will fall on July 21st. 19. Every 19 years, the moon resets. You'll notice all the Jewish holy days, they'll fall on the same day every 19 years because it's the cycle of the moon. The Jewish holy days are synced up with the moon. And 19, such a special number. Again, the Quran code, which is so important to Islam, is centered on the number 19. And we're coming up on 2019, Tisha B'Av in 2019. So here's July 21st, the 202nd day of the year. Just as a reminder, Tisha B'Av in Jewish Gematria equals 911. It's to remember the destruction of the two temples, kind of like the destruction of the two towers on 9/11. This year, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, went through September 11th. What was coded in those headlines above, the end is near, this emphasized phrase, born in Israel in 2,000 years, fulfills prophecy. I just want you to see. The end is near. End of the world was up there as well. Born in Israel in 200 years, fulfilled. Well, even if it was 2,000, it wouldn't make a difference. It's a zero. Looks like I had a typo there. It should say 2,000, but it'd make no difference. They all had 202, just like red heifer. So no doubt what was being emphasized was pointing to Tisha B'Av. I mean, no doubt about it. I pointed out this thought about the pineal gland, which is the mind's eye, because revelation, it means, coming to light, the mind awakening, waking up. All of these things are related. Revelation, again, this entire prophecy of the third temple is connected to revelation like the red heifer. So that was just a thought I threw in there. We're going to be talking about San Francisco in a little bit. San Francisco has the Gematria 202 as well. Something to keep in mind. But here it is. Tisha B'Av 2019 falls on August 10th and August 11th. August 11th, written 11/8 in the majority of the world. Tisha B'Av, the red heifer born on the day, leaving 118 days left in the year. And consider what we just saw happen in the world on November 8th, another date that can be written 11/8. We saw the destruction of Paradise, California, and the deadliest wildfires in the history of California. The word death has gematria of 118. Very important number. And as we talked about, Paradise, California equals 118. Los Angeles, California equals 118. Los Angeles is even on the 118th meridian. This number 118 is very important, is the point. And it's a number connected to death and destruction throughout history. So here it is, September 4th leaves 118 days left in the year. August 11th is the 223rd day of the year. The synagogue of Satan equals 223. Masonic and Jewish gematria equals 223. Again, this code of letters and numbers is Jewish. It's Masonic. The people that we refer to as Jewish are the synagogue of Satan. They are the false Jews. They control media, government, banking. They forecast what they're going to do through this code again and again. It's how I've called so many dates of tragedies and shootings before they happened. Again, if you missed my work on the false flag in Las Vegas, October 1st, 2017, all year I reminded people to circle that weekend, how it lined up with Tisha B'Av, or excuse me, not Tisha B'Av, how it lined up with Yom Kippur, the most important Jewish holy day, the Day of Atonement for your sins. And of course, Sin City gets shot up. I said numerous times in the year before that happened that I expected to see the biggest false flag in the U.S. on September 11th on that weekend because of how the alignment was, the numbers, the holiday. It's the same type of thing here with the Tisha B'Av prediction. By the way, the Synagogue of Satan 223 in Masonic, 223 is the 48th prime. Red Heifer has this gematria of 48 as well. Freemason sums to 48 in Hebrew and English. The date September 9th, 9/9, if you read this story, you know, it promotes all sorts of ideas, including the false idea of the rapture. But I have no doubt that they brought up rapture in this story from the New York Post on 9/9 by accident. And again, you know, all of these prophecies, there's all these different spiritual takes on them. There's certain people who believe when this cataclysm comes, you know, the rapture will occur and, you know, God's chosen people will be lifted up into the heavens and everyone else will be left here to suffer. Anyway, this whole story of the red heifer, if you go back and read what was written about, it provoked all these ideas. Pointed out that the word sacred has the gematria of 112 like Zionist. I forgot to put Judaism up here, also like Donald. And notice I was starting to talk about how Donald Trump fit into this before it was even announced that there was a temple coin out, or before it became to any of our attention, which we'll also review. This number 112, again, it's the sacred red heifer was born. Number 112 is important. The Balfour Declaration, which was written during World War I about building the Zionist state of Israel, that letter was published November 2nd, 112, again, Zionist 112, Judaism 112, a letter about establishing the Zionist state. The date that this news was circulating about the red heifer, again, was going on during Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which began on September 9th. That's when they first started to put out news about this. And the headlines carried through September 11th. They went from September 9th through September 11th during the Jewish New Year, forecasting likely what's coming ahead in this Jewish year ahead. August 11th, 2019 will be very near the end of the Jewish year we're in. But I pointed out that September 11, 2018, the 17-year anniversary of 9/11, this year it fell on a date with 58 numerology. Third temple equals 58. Solomon's temple, Herod's temple, they're all 58. So is Jerusalem. And this matters because August 11th, 2019, the date we're looking at will also be a date with 58 numerology. And ahead, we're going to talk about how it's 58 days after Trump's birthday who has a coin on sale in Israel to raise money for the Third Temple with his head on one side and the Third Temple on the other. And Donald Trump is the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. I noticed also in the cipher that Derek promotes, which I almost never use because I'm not convinced it's legitimate cipher, but in the cipher that Derek uses, I did think it was interesting that red heifer equaled 58. So, I don't know, maybe Derek's right. Maybe the cipher is legit. Also, the Quran code equals 58. Remember, the Quran code was discovered in 1968. It's centered on the number 19. That matters because 1968 was the year the plan went into motion for 9/11, which is all part of this ongoing agenda. In 1968, World Trade Center construction began. George W. Bush graduated from Yale in Skull and Bones. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, and a number of other things. All of those things 33 years before 2001. And again, this year on the anniversary of 9/11, the 17-year anniversary, we pointed out what was so important to that. There were two things predominantly. One, construction on the Pentagon, the anniversary of that, it was the 77-year anniversary in 2018. Pentagon construction began September 11th, 1941. So the attack was the 60-year anniversary of construction. Here on the 17-year anniversary, it was the 77th year anniversary for the Pentagon. And remember, on 9/11, it was Flight 77 that reportedly hit the Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. The Pentagon's 77 feet tall. It's on the 77th meridian. Look it up. All of this is true. Took off at 8:20 supposedly, crashed at 9:37, 77 minutes later. And if you write out September 11th in the most pure cipher, this same cipher where Freemasonry is 58, if you write out September 11th as words, it equals 77. Same with World Trade Center in this cipher. So 77, special number. United States has Gematria 77, so does Power, so does Judaism, so does Zionist. Judaism and Zionist are both 77 and 112, depending on which way you're reading the alphabetic order, forwards or backwards. And the other thing that mattered about the 17-year anniversary is if you go to the classroom scene with George W. Bush on the day of 9/11, he was in that classroom in Florida, and they were reading The Pet Goat, and the teacher tells the class to turn to page 153. She says, turn to page 153. And you can see if you go and look up that scene and just look up what's on the whiteboard behind her, you can see that it says page 153, The Pet Goat. 153 is the 17th triangular number. And notice when you flip the alphabetic order around, the pet goat is 153 as well. 153, that's the 17th triangular number. She says, go to page 153. And then they start, it's also when they're reciting those words, kite, plane, steel, hit, must. It's a really weird scene. But now, knowing what we know and how important numbers are to these people, you can start to see that that entire scene was choreographed and it was foreshadowing something. Keep in mind, Holy Bible equals 153, and all of this stuff is biblical, even this code. You know, it's like the Crusades recreated the world versus Islam. So anyway, August 11th, 2019 will come before the 18-year anniversary of September 11th. And I expect August 11th, 2019 to be the next chapter in the ongoing epic we're living out, this planned agenda. Just like how September 11th was foretold in the work of the Project for a New American Century. You know? So 58, very special number, again, covered very thoroughly in my book. Don't forget Donald Trump, who was at the site of the Western Wall, which we'll talk more about. He announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower before he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray and won the 58th U.S. presidential election and celebrated the 58th presidential inauguration on a date with 58 numerology. For just a few more nuggets, in terms of the red heifer being blemish-free, the terminology is interesting. It has Gematria 57 like Scottish Rite, like Jews, like moon. The Jews identify through the moon. The most Jewish branch of Freemasonry is the Scottish Rite, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump, all of his family, well, all of his growing children are married into Jewish families. Talk more about Jared Kushner. Should we move ahead? September 4th, the day the red heifer was born, when you write out that day as words, it sums to 74, like Lucifer, like Jewish, like Messiah, like Jesus, like cross, like Masonic, like English, like Gematria, like occult. A few other things are missing up there, but it's a big, long list. And this post right here about the red heifer, in their writing on it, they bring up Revelation 21:8. Which is about the non-believers and what happens to them in the end times. And ahead, I'm going to show you a really interesting article that was published the day of Donald Trump's emergency text. Remember that from October 3rd? That went out at 2:18 Eastern. 2:18 is not exactly the same as 21:8, but it is the same number sequence. 2:18. And again, Trump sums to 2:18 in Francis Bacon Gematria when you write his name in caps. Like how in Revelation, the warnings are the trumpets, kind of like the trumpets ticket. And don't forget, Holy Bible has that Gematria 45 forwards and backwards, like Trump being number 45, who's right at the center of this entire riddle. Revelation and Donald J. Trump also have a bit of overlap. The red cow was born on September 4th, 9-4, the reflection of 49, the revelation number. They're saying all of this stuff. Again, go back and read the articles. Go back and read the articles and all that was written. Okay. So, with regards to Trump, let's talk about this global support for the third temple coin. On one side is the faces of Donald Trump and King Cyrus, both men that called Jerusalem the eternal Jewish city. King Cyrus, by the way, has Gematria 53, like Tisha B'Av, like Temple Mount, also like religion. And here, let me get you this coin. Here it is. Donald Trump and King Cyrus on one side. By the way, temple coin, what they're calling this, equals 158, like Freemasonry, like Jewish state. Temple coin, Donald, Zionist, Judaism, all 112 as well. Here's the other side of the coin. And this coin actually went on sale April 12th, the 102nd day of the year. So this coin had been on sale actually before we saw the red heifer thing and really connected the dots. But nobody was talking about this. It took a while for any of us, for it to come to our attention. So they have been raising money to build this temple since early in this year. Again, all the proceeds of this coin and its sales go towards building the third temple. And just as a reminder, the day Trump was at the side of the Western Wall, May 22nd, 2017, date was 64 numerology, like Israel, Zion, Western Wall, what he visited. All dates was 64 numerology. Synagogue of Satan, 64. So, show you in a moment here how well his visit to the Western Wall on May 22nd, 2017 synced up with the date August 11th, 2019. Make sure there's nothing else here I really want to cover from this. Oh, you know what? When you go back and watch Christine Lagarde's speech about the magic number 7 from 2014, I want you to pay attention to what she says about the Berlin Wall. And then I want you to think about how Donald Trump was now announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And then when he took office, he was 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days old. And of course, DC's on the 77th meridian. But those are all sevens in numerology. You know, that's how old Trump was when he took office. 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days. And as I pointed out then, in Jewish Gematria, order out of chaos is 777. He's the order out of chaos candidate. But go back and listen to Lagarde's speech about the magic number 7 that she gave for the IMF. Perhaps she was doing a little foreshadowing for what we'd see in the future, the riddle with Trump in the wall. But here was Trump. He was at Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day before he traveled to the Vatican by the numbers. And here you go, Orthodox Star of David, Ashkenazi Jews, 119. Well, hold on, here it is. Trump was at the site of the Western Wall the day this picture was taken right here, May 22nd, 2017. And what's amazing is from that day to August 11th, 2019, and keep in mind that wall is near where they plan to build the third temple. From the day he was there to the day we're looking out for is 811 days later. 811. Think about how we write the date August 11th in the US. 8/11 like 811. And it's 2 years, 2 months, and 20 days. Just using the English Gematria, order out of chaos is 222. You know, what a coincidence. And we're going to talk about how San Francisco fits into this riddle in a moment. Keep in mind, 811 is the 141st prime, San Francisco, California. 141. Look at the date, May 22nd, the 142nd day of the year, leaving 223 days remaining. August 11th is the 223rd day of the year, leaving 142 days remaining. Reflections of each other. In the Synagogue of Satan, 223. Terrorist, 142. They say the 9/11 attack lasted an hour and 42 minutes. That's why there's that PBS documentary, 102 Minutes That Changed America. 102 minutes is an hour and 42. By the way, Al-Qaeda equals 102 in Jewish Gematria. Also, something to think about. Donald Trump was at the site of the Western Wall for Jerusalem Day, which equals 134. Tisha B'Av and 9th of Av are the same thing. Tisha B'Av is the Jewish way to say it. 9th of Av means the same thing. It's the 9th day of the month Av on the Jewish calendar. They all sum to 134. Just like Make America Great Again. There's Make America Great Again. And maybe it's not here, but we'll get to it. It's a slide ahead. How Trump's birthday is 58 days before August 11th, 2019, a date with 58 numerology, where, again, 58 is coded all over the third temple riddle. Here it is right here. From Trump's 73rd birthday in 2019 to August 11th, 2019 is 58 days later. How perfect. How perfect. And with regards to August 10th, the day it begins, if you count the full span, from June 14th to August 10th is a span of 58 days for Trump. From June 14th to August 11th is a 58 days later. So both days of Tisha B'Av touch the number 58 for Trump. Okay, now we're going to work into how the Golden Gate Bridge factors into this. Again, the Jewish prophecy is that at the time of the third temple coming into being, when that plan is in motion, and again, the Bible's written in riddles, so everyone has their own a little bit different interpretations, but the point is, the third temple and the Jewish Messiah arriving through the Golden Gate are two concepts that come together. That's the Jewish belief, that when they build the third temple, the entire world will worship the Jewish Messiah. You know, essentially the one world religion will be established and the Jewish Messiah will arrive through the Golden Gate. And people start going, yeah, but the Golden Gate's in Israel. So why are you looking at the Golden Gate Bridge? And, you know, you guys, you have to think more abstract, okay? The New World Order, they're, you know, controlling the minds of the masses across the world. The symbolism's clearly there. The Golden Gate Bridge, which in Jewish Hollywood has been foreshadowed being destroyed for decades. You know, a bridge that construction began on in the year 33. But look, I just want to show you all of these very interesting things about the Golden Gate Bridge. And I should probably start right here with the mayor of London, not the mayor of London, the mayor of San Francisco, who's named London Breed, a name that sounds like London Bridge. She's going to turn 45 years old, and she's the 45th mayor, keep in mind. She's the 45th mayor of San Francisco. She's going to turn 45 years old August 11th, 2019. And look at Golden Gate and our two reduction-based ciphers, 45, 45, just like Holy Bible, like Mike Pence. Mike Pence is 45 forwards and backwards. Again, the Trump Pence ticket, the Holy Bible, the trumpets, the warnings and revelation. The word bridge with the alphabetic order is also 45. So that's strange right there. London Breed's a strange name. London Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, the fact that she turns 45 on this date. In a moment, we're going to talk about the film Pacific Rim, how the Golden Gate in San Francisco is destroyed on August 11th in that film. But let's come back to this viral news story here. Let's come back to this viral news story about the Grim Reaper, the image that got millions of views in a very short period of time, the Grim Reaper over the Golden Gate. So this story broke July 26th, 18. Grim Reaper towers over Golden Gate Bridge. And if you read the story, I know I got it here. Where did I put it? Oh. We're scared but intrigued. Artist Justin Leduc created this realistic rendering of an ominous Grim Reaper figure towering over the Golden Gate Bridge. He posted this video to Instagram July 24th, and after just 2 days, the video has been viewed more than 10 million times. It's easy to understand why. This video is so realistic, it'll have you doing a double take. Okay, so they emphasize Grim Reaper here when the media puts this out. Notice July 24th, the day the image was put out, is the day leaving 160 days left in the year. Grim Reaper equals 160. For the record, 205, it's the 205th day of the year. All-Seeing Eye has the Gematria 205 as well. You know what? Now I got to think for a second. Is it Jewish Gematria? I believe Jerusalem actually has a connection to 205. Maybe it's in Jewish Gematria? Hold on. No. Is it Israel? It is. So Israel's 205 in Jewish Gematria. It's funny how the brain works, right? Like I've looked at that story several times and it hasn't come back into my mind, that fact. I haven't thought about that for a while until just now. But All-Seeing Eye, when you flip the alphabetic order around, is 205 as well. So anyway. This story, or this image, is put out on the day leaving 160 days left in the year. Remember the 1989 World Series earthquake, which I've talked about a million times? The last thing shown on the television screen before it went to snow because of the quake was Jose Canseco, number 33, pumping his fist in the air. World Series earthquake, 2 Bay Area teams playing. Only earthquake ever captured on live television. I'll say it again. Jose Canseco's full name sums to 107. From his birthday to the day of the earthquake was 107 days. Earthquake equals 107. So does military. Not an accident. The earthquake happened at 5:04 p.m. local. 5:04, like 54. Baseball equals 54. It's using the alphabetic order. 54 outs in a complete game. World Series quake. Rituals by the numbers. That quake was blamed on the Loma Prieta fault line. And look at the overlap with Grim Reaper and Loma Prieta. This was pointed out by our brilliant caller from New York. He said to check this out. And I said, what a great observation. Loma Prieta also has Gematria of 110 like prophecy. So overlap in 3 of the 4 ciphers and overlap with the 160. It would have to be something like I believe, a natural disaster to take down the Golden Gate Bridge. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this is what we end up seeing happen on August 11th. It's very possible. Again, this date's been foreshadowed in a movie for destroying San Francisco. Natural disaster equals 223, and August 11th is the 223rd day of the year. What's interesting is from July 24th, the day this image was put out of the Grim Reaper, to August 11th, 2019 is 383 days. Notice it's also 1 year and 18 days. 118, like the date August 11th, 11/8 or 8/11. 383 is interesting because 38 is the number of death. Well, look at this. 383 is the 76th prime, and San Francisco is also 76. The date that this image was posted, a date was 69 numerology. Justin LeDuc, 69, the guy who posted it. New World Order, 69. What are the odds? So, the Golden Gate Bridge construction began January 5th, 1933. That means it's going to be over 86 years old. Call 86 the symbol number. Symbol also connects to 76, the number in this riddle here with this viral image of the Grim Reaper. Obama once had a very interesting photo in front of the Golden Gate Bridge on 4/4. Earthquake 44, don't forget it. Military 44. And again, where we began, all of the riddles were pointing to the number 202, which is another number that connects to San Francisco. So check this out. The day that Trump put out his emergency alert test, whatever it was, that was October 3rd. And on that same day, CNN published this article, 10 Secrets of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I thought, on the same day, huh? So, again, you guys come to my blog and search for all these posts. All this information's saved there. If you're on your cell phone, you want to scroll to the bottom of the screen. My blog's free to find truth. If you're on your cell phone, you want to scroll to the bottom of the screen and click the view web version, and then you'll get this search box. And then just search key phrases. You'll find what you're looking for. For some other possible predictive programming, Douglas, longtime follower, he pointed out that American Horror Story, their latest season, Season 8, Episode 1, which debuted September 12th, 2018, right after these stories about the Red Heifer and the Third Temple and the prophecy, they put out this episode called The End, which is about, nuclear bombs dropping all over the world and only people in bunkers surviving. In the beginning of that episode, it shows San Francisco get rocked. And with regards to it being season number 8 in episode 1, kind of like 8-1, Golden Gate Bridge is also 81. And you see that destruction right there in that episode. I noticed that from September 12th, the debut, to August 11, 2019, is 333 days, also 47 weeks and 4 days. That's a number that's symbolic to the Masonic compass and square. And rather than go off on a big tangent about that, just understand it's Masonic symbolism. It has to do with measuring and time and calculating, like how all of this is, For some more predictive programming, there's a TV show called Dig about a Zionist conspiracy to blow up the Dome of the Rock to build the Third Temple. And that's been in mainstream television for not that long. It's a relatively recent show, came out in 2015. Debuted March 5th, 2015. The last episode was May 7th, 2015. So not a real long-running show, but one that was there. March 5th is the 64th day of the year. The show lasted a span of 64 days. Israel 64, Zion 64. Hold on, we're taking a call right now. Let's see what our caller thinks here. Hello?
Hello. I just want to make one quick point about the Golden State Bridge. Remember that movie about the suicides, about the Golden State Bridge? So make sure to tell the viewers about that.
Why don't you do it right now? You know it better than I do.
I'm on the train on my way to work. I remember a couple of weeks ago somebody called and somebody made a movie about the suicides on the Golden State Bridge.
Right.
Don't you remember that call?
I do. Oh yeah, I do.
So I just want you to make that point too when you're talking about the Golden State Bridge.
You're right. Good tip. All right. Thank you, caller.
Okay. All right.
The problem is, True Seeker, is I remember the call very well and how detailed it was and all that was encoded. And it was another thing that had the numbers that we're looking at for August 11, 2019. And perhaps the man from New York is out there, and maybe he wants to phone in and remind us exactly how that riddle went. Because I still haven't checked out the film myself, but I do remember the call. That was the same caller who pointed out the connection with Loma Prieta and Grim Reaper. So anyway, this show debuted on the 64th day of the year. It lasted a span of 64 days. Big number there in the history of Israel. Connects to the occult religion Thelema, where the motto is "Do what thou wilt." If you don't count the span of days, the show ended 63 days after it began, the number that is important to Rabbinic Judaism, those who go by the Talmud. As for May 7th, excuse me. Before we get to the May 7th part, the other thing interesting about March 5th, the debut, is that they can be written 5/3 in Religions 53, Temple Mounts 53. The show also ended on May 7th, which is the 127th day of the year. And notice religion's also 127. And all of this is about religion. Whose religion's superior? Whose religion has the right to that land? And May 7th can also be written 5/7. Again, Jews is 57, so is Moon, so is Scottish Rite. The show was called Dig. It's about blowing up the temple to build the Dome of the Rock to build the third temple. Temple has the gematria of 71, which is the 20th prime. And notice Dig is 20. That was the name of this show. The site at Temple Mount has an Islamic name, Haram Esh Sharif, gematria 71 as well. Again, the show's about blowing up this spot, Zionist conspiracy. And from the debut of that show to August 11, 2019, it's 231 weeks. That's the 21st triangular, Bible's 21. It's also from the end of the show to August 11, 2019 is 222 weeks. Order Out of Chaos, 222. And don't forget, 2019, Chaos is 19. Temple Mountain Chaos have gematria 46 as well. So does the Masonic motto, Ordo Ab Chao, the Latin for Order Out of Chaos. Again, that's how these people work. Somebody reached out to me recently and said that they wouldn't blow up the Dome of the Rock. The site they would actually blow up is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is right next door. And I don't claim to know which one they would actually blow up. There are a number of Zionists in the world that do want to blow up the Dome of the Rock, and they think that is the site of the temple. There's other people that say there's other fitting sites nearby. And a man reached out to me recently and said, just watch, if they do this, it'll be the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So what I thought was interesting about this is Al-Aqsa Mosque equals 141. Just a moment ago, we talked about how 811 is the 141st prime number, and how from the day Trump visited the site to August 11th is 811 days later, and August 11th can be written 8/11, like 811. So this site does have the right name gematria, absolutely. And, Al-Aqsa Mosque also has gematria of 183, like the phrase "order out of chaos." It's another one. So here was the man who pointed it out, Mokaid. So thank you to that gentleman. Here on the last day of Hanukkah, this story made the rounds. Temple-ready altar dedicated on last day of Hanukkah by activist groups. So you have these people, they built an altar. They say the rest of the temple should be built around it, right near the Dome of the Rock. Notice Hanukkah equals 141. I got dyslexic here. December 10th, 2018, 12 plus 10 is 22, plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8 is 33. So this was a date with 33 numerology that they did this. And when you write out 33, it's 141 like Hanukkah. And again, 811, the 141st prime. So, I mean, at this point, this isn't really a conspiracy theory at all. It's like this is being put in our face that they have plans to build their third temple. What would be nice to see is maybe they just plan to build the temple without destroying anything, but that doesn't seem to be the way of these people. These people like to create a scene. They love explosions. They love destruction and death. That seems to be the way they operate. So I also noticed that from December 10th, the day of this altar and offering, from December 10th to August 11th was 35 weeks. The word Satan has Gematria 35, like Baphomet. And again, they are the synagogue of Satan. These are the false Jews that occupy Israel. Other things going on during the time of August 11, 2019. The Muslim pilgrimage, the Hajj. It begins August 9th and goes through August 14th, which means August 11th falls right in the middle. A lot of Muslims in this part of the world when this might go on. And again, September 11th, part of that propaganda was to teach the people of the world to fear Islam, to hate Islam, to be prejudiced against Islam. It didn't matter, what news station you were watching. It didn't matter if you were a conservative or a liberal. They were all on board with shaming Islam and falsely blaming Islam. So, the Hajj. It's got some interesting numbers. Numbers connecting to death, murder, chaos. Another thing going on at this time. On the same days that Tisha B'Av takes place, the Muslim festival of sacrifice takes place. Doesn't that sound fitting? Perfect day to sacrifice an Islamic structure. The festival of sacrifice. And again, sacrifice has that gematria of 46, like Temple Mount, like chaos, like Quran code. The Quran code centered on the number 19. We're talking about the year 2019. Festival of sacrifice also sums to 118, like how it falls on the date August 11th, 11/8. For a little more predictive programming, this picture right here is taken from the film Pacific Rim. A film where if you watch it, you'll notice the 47s everywhere. Of course, Pacific equals 47. But right here, what this is a scene from how San Francisco is being destroyed on the date August 11th. And it is in the year 2013. But the date still, it's like, and I didn't realize this until some months after we made the prediction. Somebody pointed this out and said, look at this. It's the date August 11th. San Francisco under attack by giant creatures. And what's really weird is from the date this film released to August 11th, 2019 is 2,222 days. Not too far off from 222. Order out of chaos, 222. It's also 73 months. Sacrifice equals 73. Falls on the Festival of Sacrifice. Other predictive programming. The Simpsons. They have an episode about this red heifer. Comes from season 19, episode 17. Season 19. And this debuted April 27th, 2008. 2008 was a leap year. April 27th was the 118th day of the year when this debuted. Kind of like August 11th, 11/8. Kind of like the red heifer being born on the day, leaving 118 days left in the year. What are the odds? What are the odds? They called this episode Apocalypse Cow, which has gematria of 154, like Temple Mount. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Ritual Sacrifice is also 154. For the record, August 11th, again, the 223rd day of the year. The Simpsons, known for its predictive programming. the writer of The Simpsons, Matthew Abraham Groening, his name equals 223, like the synagogue of Satan. So many things that they have predicted by the numbers over the years. In this cartoon, Homer's looking at a jug with an XXX on it. Remember, X is the 24th letter. The numerology of 24 is 2 plus 4 is 6. So XXX is 666. Prophecy in Jewish Gematria is 666. Prophecy with the alphabetic order is also 106. So is the name Matthew Abraham Groening in the Most Pure cipher. And again, The Simpsons has been quite the prophetic show with their predictions over the years. Another cartoon, Ginger Cow by South Park, also about the red heifer, their take on it. Ginger Cow, the name of the episode, equals 142, like how August 11th leaves 142 days left in the year. What are the odds? Season 17, episode 6, original air date November 6th, 2013. And, November 6th, flip that date upside down, it is 9/11. I really do have a strong feeling that August 11th, 2019 will be the next September 11th. I want to take a moment to show you something that I know that I forgot to put in this in light of August 11th being the next September 11th. You guys remember that George Herbert Walker Bush, whose name equals 118, just died on November 30th, right? We said he would die at age 94 and he wouldn't make it past November. That was my prediction. It came true. Why is this taking so long to load right now? Normally this just loads in a win. All right, here, you can do this yourself. I want you to measure from the day that George Herbert Walker Bush died, November 30th, 2018, and I want you to measure to August 11th, 2019. You're going to see that it's 254 days later. It's 254 days later. And notice, September 11th is the 254th day of the year. The 254th, which is a number connected to Saturn, the keeper of the time. Remember, George Herbert Walker Bush, he's a big part of this New World Order agenda. He gave the speech on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day, about the New World Order, a world freer of terrorism. He was a big fan of Israel, big friend. I don't think it's any coincidence that Mr. 118 himself, George Herbert Walker Bush, died 254 days before August 11th. In light of what I was saying when September 11th, the anniversary was around and I was making these predictions at first, I was saying, just watch. It's going to be 11 months after the 17-year anniversary, from September 11th, 2017 to August 11th, 2019. Wait, did I just say, talking too fast. From September 11th, 2018 to August 11th, 2019 is 11 months. 11, the master number. All of these agents, they're all part of the script. George Herbert Walker Bush, 118. From his death to August 11, 2019, 254 days later. Let me just see if I can get the website to load up again. I'd like to be able to just show it to you so you don't have to take my word for it. Huh, that is really weird. All right, we'll come back at the end. Anyhow, Jared Kushner. There's been articles written saying, is he the Jewish Messiah? Is he the living Jewish Messiah? There's people in the world that are contemplating this. The son-in-law of Donald Trump. And what's really interesting is from his birthday, January 10th, 1981. His upcoming birthday, January 10th, 2019, to August 11th, 2019 is 213 days later. Dome of the Rock has the gematria of 213. Notice it's also 7 months and 1 day, like how Temple is 71. The 30 weeks and 3 days also stands out in a big way because that's a big number of the Jesuits. Of course, the Jesuits are all part of this riddle and prophecy too. But Temple's 71, so was Talmud. Jared Kushner also equals 134, like Tisha B'Av. And again, his date of birth syncs up so perfectly with Tisha B'Av in 2019, where 19 is the Quran code, it's the chaos code. He's going to be 38 years old, Kushner. Jews 38, so is Kabbalah. Death in Satanic Gematria is 213. The date comes 213 days after his 38th birthday. August 11th, 19 is also a date with 38 numerology. His birthday, January 10th, can also be written 1/10 like 110, prophecy 110. Prophecy is also 38. He's at that building 666, another prophecy number. Clipoth is the evil side of Kabbalah. For a little more history, on August 11th, in 1988, that was the day Al-Qaeda was supposedly established. And again, 9/11, all part of this ongoing contrived prophecy by the numbers. September 11th had a lot to do with Tisha B'Av. Remember the destruction of the two temples, the destruction of the two towers, 9/11. Tisha B'Av equals 9/11 in Jewish Gematria. Also on August 11th, speaking of prophecy, this is the day the Weimar Republic was established, the temporary order in Germany that gave birth to the Nazi Party, which was then replaced by the Nazi Party. The Weimar Republic was all part of the buildup of the Nazis. And they too were established August 11th in the year 1919. Order out of chaos, world wars, planned agendas by the numbers. So it'll be the 100-year anniversary of the Weimar Republic, and of course the world wars were all about establishing Zionist Israel. They were planned during World War I, planned even long before that. It was Marty who pointed that out. Great work, Marty. By the way, with regards to August 11th being the 223rd day of the year, don't forget that it was confirmed on February 23rd that the U.S. Embassy would be moved to Jerusalem. Another 223, Synagogue of Satan 223, doing things by the numbers. I shouldn't have just closed that slide. Is it still there? I want to show you something real quick. Recently closed. Let's see. You see how they did it on May 14th? They confirmed it February 23rd, and then they did it May 14th. Israel was officially established May 14th, 1948. Kind of like how Mark Zuckerberg, who goes around with the Star of David on the inside of his clothes, his birthday is May 14th, 1984. 84, the reflection of 48. Again, the Catholic Church is at the heart of this. Catholic is 145, like May 14th is 14/5. Remember the big joke in the NFL the other year with Jim Harbaugh visiting the Vatican, and then his star player Jake Butt, the tight end, falling from the first round to the 145th pick by the Denver Broncos? If you don't remember that, go back and look it up. Notice Denver Broncos is also 71. Some big Catholic rituals with them every single year. But Jake Butt, tight end, molestation in the Catholic Church, rapists, raping little boys. Wikipedia for 2 weeks had his name as Jake Dick Butt, kind of like Dick Butt Kiss. People don't think they're farming these athletes and naming them accordingly. Anyway, it's not an accident that this is Jerusalem's birthday. Again, the story is that the Knights Templar, after the Crusades, secured the Code of Kabbalah and brought it back to the Catholic Church and spread it across European elite. And ever since, they've operated in this way. But just realize, everything they do, the numbers aren't arbitrary. Also interesting, September 11th, 2018, it began the new Islamic year, the year 1440. Special numbers, with regards to it being the year 1440, kind of like how there's 1440 minutes in a day, time and light are 144. And the divisors of 119 sum to 144. And it just makes me think, what a year for another big false flag and, more propaganda against Islam. By the way, for all the Muslims out there, the cube, which symbolizes Saturn, that the Muslims march around at Mecca, it's called Kaaba, which has the Gematria of 119, connecting to Saturn, connecting to September 11th. So, anyway, the year of the Islamic calendar is also very interesting, how all of this lines up. For another potential predictive programming, there's a new Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out. Comes out November 8th, 2019, another 11/8 date. And look at what's in one of the movie posters, the Golden Gate Bridge. And by the way, the Temple Institute, which is part of the planning of the Third Temple, it was established in 1987. That was 32 years before 2019. Jerusalem's 32. The Temple Institute sums to 64. Big number also coded all over that TV show Dig, which is about the Zionist conspiracy to have the Third Temple built. What a coincidence. And Gematria is a Jewish practice, which is why I decided to research it, because I know who runs the show. And with regards to bridges, Derek and I, the last time we did a live stream together, we figured this out in like 5 minutes. It was actually pretty cool. We were talking about August 11, 2019, and we were just looking at some recent bridge collapses in the news. There was the Florida International University pedestrian bridge collapse on the Ides of March 15, 2018. And we noticed from March 15th to August 11th, 2019 is 515 days. And we said, I wonder if that means anything. And then we noticed the other big bridge collapse in the news this year was the Morandi Bridge in Italy. And from the date that happened to August 11, 2019 was 51 weeks and 5 days. Not too far off from 515. And we noticed that, one of the bigger bridge collapses in recent history took place in Minnesota. Minnesota is 515 in English extended. And I was saying, well, what could the number 515 have to do with anything? And I noticed the word Jew in that cipher is 515. And Babylon in Jewish Gematria is 515. And speaking of Babylon, where a lot of this old world belief systems go back to, Babylon has that Gematria of 118. Notice Babylon's also 71, like the Babylonian Talmud, like the temple. And this whole code goes back to Babylon. So... By the way, the FIU bridge collapse. FIU has that Gematria 45 like bridge. Morandi Bridge is 74, like how the FIU bridge collapsed on the 74th day of the year. Oh yeah, that was the other important piece. This FIU bridge collapse is near Golden Gate, Florida. Again, the Jewish Messiah is supposed to arrive through the Golden Gate. And March 15th being the 74th day of the year, and that FIU bridge being near Golden Gate, Florida, Messiah and Jewish, 74. So the mayor there in San Francisco is London Bree, London 74. Just makes you wonder. I don't know how no one saw what was so wrong with the FIU bridge collapse. It was so obvious why that thing fell. And again, it's like they just put the truth in front of your face and expect you not to see it. Go back and look at the FIU bridge collapse, and you'll see that right where the bridge collapses, the crane is resting on the bridge. It's so obvious that there was force being applied through that crane, which caused the bridge to fall right where it did. And that was never brought up, despite it being shown 1,000 times on TV. But all this stuff, no doubt, is ritual, and we'll find out next year if it really is all pointing to the date August 11, 2019, and just what they do have planned for that day. I have no doubt that we will read about tragedies in the news on that day. We read about tragedies in the news every single year on Tisha B'Av. And again, This year, it seems to be extra special the way the numbers line up. The Synagogue of Satan numbers, the way it intertwines with the Muslim celebrations, the predictive programming in the past, the thing about the red heifer being born around the time of September 11th, and then that news circulating for the Jewish New Year on the anniversary of September 11th. And then just other things. I mean, even that Pacific Rim movie and, oh yeah, even stuff like this. I mean, this story seems silly right here. National news story about men trying to cross the Golden Bridge in Russia. Apparently you can't cross by foot, so some men built a cardboard box car and put it around them and tried to run across the bridge. National news story. The name of the bridge is the Golden Horn, which equals 58. Again, the number coded all over the third temple prophecy. And what's weird is from the day that this news broke, November 13th to August 11th, is 271 days later, the 58th prime number. So sounds like we have company right now, and I'm at the end, so I'm going to hop off right here and see who's visiting. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.